Good morning, good afternoon and good evening, and welcome back for the final time for 2024 to some Club 100 sprint racing, this time at Buckmore Park.
Are we good to go this time around? I think we will be. Matthew Batter in the red suit is your pole leader, Tim Penny alongside. We're racing for Heat 3, and Tim Penny's going to look to go round the outside here at Conway through Henry's Bend. Kurt Hope would like to follow through as well, but you can't go too wide out there because there's leaves.
So good start off the first heat, starting on the anti-pole side, which at Buckmore Park can historically end up getting some pretty poor runs, but able to get a good push from behind from Kurt. Kurt in this one had his own kind of agenda. Obviously, everyone wants to win the race, but in order for Kurt to keep the championship alive, he would have to win this race. So he was very much as keen as I was to get off the line quickly. And I was able to do so. Unfortunately, he ended up getting caught up in the bit of the melee behind. You could see going around the first couple of corners, really working at that wheel. The surface, especially around the top half of the circuit, was still quite damp. There was a dry line, but you could sort of see here a little bit of a slide out towards the middle of the circuit, and we built up a reasonably healthy lead at this point. So at the moment, it's more about trying to control that and manage the gap to behind, but the best way to do that is just not look behind, really. Just keep your eyes forward and keep the pace as quick as you can. And as we jump forward going on to the last lap, that's pretty much what I was able to do. Kept the gap to Kurt behind, who managed to get himself into second place around about 3 seconds, occasionally dipping below, going above 3 seconds a little bit, but around about that 3 second mark, and it would just be a case of finishing out the last lap without any mistakes.
Last lap board has been shown then to Tim Penny, who just needs to stroke this one home.
Interesting choice of words there by Howard, but yes, stroke it home we shall try and do as we go around the last few corners down the bottom of this Buckmore Park circuit.
Here though is your race leader, who I almost don't want to say anything to warrant the commentator's curse, do they?
He's protected.
He's controlled this one fine. I can't see what's going to go wrong for him now. Coming through Cafe Corner, Tim Penny is going to take the win for heat number 3.
And just protected from the commentator's curse from a liberal offering of Jaffa cakes and hobnobs to the commentary boys before the race. But we'll move on to heat number 2.
So that means now that second place battle just between Kurt and Adam.
Correct. Here we go then into the tram lines. Last race of round number 2 of these heats for the heavyweights. Away we go. Green light, 7 minutes underway. Good start for Dan Grocott there in the red suit with a white helmet. Adam Wright trying to hold around the outside. He's going to lose out to Adam Britton in the blue Destiny Drink Racing suit. Massive lock up there. Think for Jacob Harris in the number 79, but just about got it stopped. Adam Wright down the inside. Adam Britton half turned round. Is going to lose all of those positions that he had for his grid slot. James Johnston 3 wide through and out of the S's.
So yeah, coming out of hairpin 2, you might have seen Scott Parker there sort of making the choice to try and push me through, or at least I think I remember getting a bit of a bump from behind, which was helpful as we nearly went 3 wide going into the S's, but a pretty good return on this first lap as going around up towards Cafe, able to get around the outside of Elliot Alt, whose momentum had been stymied by Jacob Harris in front, having made the move on him into Garda. And that would be us up into 4th from 9th on the grid, so a pretty good start after lap 1 as we try and chase down Adam Wright, who is our sole other C1 in this race. Obviously wanting to try and finish up as high as possible, but especially when you've got another C1 in the race with you, it's important to stick to them as closely as possible, because that will make all the difference potentially when it comes to the grid of the finals. As Jacob makes a bit of a mistake down at the bottom of the hill, runs wide coming through Paddock.
Adam Wright takes the lead away from Dan Grocott, and I'm hoping that these two drivers will now work together. They've got a good gap to Tim Penny there in 3rd, about 2 seconds.
The move to 3rd place happened whilst Adam Wright was putting that move on Grocott. Penny got past Harris for 3rd, and immediately you can see at the bottom of the hill, the back of shot, Tim Penny giving the clear gesticulation to the drivers around him of, we work together now, let's get on up the road and challenge these top 2.
So yeah, able to get up into 3rd place, and at the same time Adam got himself up into the lead, and pace-wise he was going to gap P2 of Dan Grocott, and we had about a just over 2 second gap at the start of the lap, but we jumped forward and we managed to break that down after putting in some pretty consistent laps. we're now in the toe and coming up the hill. It was quite a windy day at Buckmore, and the toe, you could really feel it coming up the hill.
1 minute and 20 to go. This is your fight for second place. Tim Penny, powered by the Jaffa Cakes, is on the move again.
Yes. Yeah, Jaffa Cakes in full effect at the moment, making sure to avoid that commentator's curse. But because of Adam's pace, we ended up getting an extra lap, because otherwise this, essentially, if we were looking at the other races that had been happening over the course of the heats, the leader was getting over the line just in time to get an extra lap out, and that would really help us.
For the drivers here, because if the leader is so far up the road, effectively it can extend the race by a lap for them.
It can.
And it gives people like, for example, Tim Penny here, an additional lap to have a go, and Dan Grocott. Now the last lap board is shown, and here is Tim Penny having a go for second place down the inside of Conway's, and he's through, and that's a beautiful move from Penny, and I don't know if Grocott's going to have any way of an answer.
So yeah, wonderfully backed up by Howard. I forgot I left that in, but we're not going to go back and change it now, because that would take effort, and I'd have to think of something else to say. But yeah, so able to get that last lap, and that was enough that as we went over the line, we had a good bit of toe, able to go up the inside of Conway's, and from that point on, there was no way I was ever going to catch up with Adam over the course of a lap. So it was just a case of hold on to P2, defend where needed to defend, and bring it home for a first in Heat 1 and a second in Heat number 2 before we move on to Heat number 3, which will be my back start, although only one position further back from where we started in Heat 2. So P11 this time, P9 in that last race. We start behind Adam Wright again here, so a few more C1s in this race, but if we can stick behind Adam, as you see the slightly wet patches on the inside going in towards Conway's, want to try and avoid that, so that you don't end up sliding wide into people that are around the outside of you. The anti-pole side of the grid got a horrible start in this one. I mean, I was effectively alongside the driver on P2 as we crossed the line, or there or thereabouts. So very unfortunate for them, but I'm not complaining, as that means that over the course of this race, that is fewer karts to have to negotiate. And whilst I enjoy overtaking, when you've only got 7 minutes and your aim is to try and get as far forward as possible, those extra places off of the start are invaluable. So able to follow Adam through as he made the move into Garda, and we know that Adam is a mighty quick boy, so if I can try and stay on his rear bumper, that would be key as we come into hairpin 1. Still nice and close, but you'll see in a moment as we come through hairpin 2, Adam able to get a bit better rotation, and then the drive off the corner much better. I'm not sure if that was down to his car or if it was just down to the line he was taking. He was able to get on the power slightly earlier, but you can see there just it gapped me. And the only reason here I'm sort of closing back up again is that he's not been able to make the move going into one of the previous corners. Allows me to catch back up, but not quite close enough, as he went for a really nice move going into hairpin 2 and secured it off. So yeah, not able to follow through, which would end up being detrimental. As we come through paddock, I'm nice and close, go for the move into Garda, but driver able to keep good momentum on the outside, and I'm not quite able to get the run as we go down the hill and then back up towards the start finish line. And yeah, at this point I'd end up getting caught behind, not wanting to make a brash move into one of the hairpins. So because this was my further back start, I was conscious that any penalty would really send me down the order, as I still had a good chunk of karts in front of me, and for the sake of one move there, the potential fallout wouldn't necessarily have been worth it at this point. But as we jump forward a little bit, we're coming up towards the start finish line, we're in good position, getting a little bit of a push from the kart behind, and then as we come through Conway's driver in front, a little bit of contact, but not enough to really make too much of a difference, and he ends up running wide, and I'm able to keep my momentum and stay a bit tighter as we go through Henry's Bend, and that releases me to try and chase down Adam. But at that point, he was too far away and would end up finishing in P4. So a first, a second, and a P4 will put us P4 on the grid for the A final. We'll be starting behind Anwar, and we've got Joe on P1, Miguel, who's had an excellent run of form to finish the year, starting alongside us, and Carolis, one of our competitors from the Saturday in the SP60, who's doing one of the occasional sprints, starting on P5. Also had a good day with Alex Pritchard behind us. As we come down towards the line, much more even start, as you'd probably expect, having drivers who are a bit more experienced and in general at the front of the grid, less of an opportunity for the anti-pole side of the grid to get a poor start. So we end up losing one position off the start, and just down to the fact that the first three corners effectively at Buckmore Park are right-handers, and that allowed Carolis to get up the inside and hold that position from us. But we settle in behind him as everyone comes streaming down the hill, very close together. Any mistakes here would be catastrophic for people, as they would just see streams of karts flying down the inside of them. But luckily that's not something that happened to us in this case, and we're still behind Carolis as we come up towards the start-finish line. And you got Joe fitting in the need to defend already, and what I think made a kart change in this one, and he managed to pick himself up quite a good one. As we come down towards hairpin 1, up ahead we got Anwar making the move on Joe, and we make quite a firm move there on Carolis as well to get us up into P4. Alex Pritchard gets some good momentum, tries to go around the outside going into hairpin 2, but that would end up not paying off for him, as I'm also able to get a better drive than Miguel and end up in P3 as we come down Simon Sweep and Pullman's at the bottom of the hill. And at this point the race would start. You'd see some tactics coming into it, because Anwar, who's currently leading the race, is just an absolute gaggle behind coming up the hill. Anwar, who's currently leading the race, is in a battle with Kurt for P2 in the championship, and I think at this point Joe had realised that Anwar had the kart to win this race, and so tactics would be played shortly. And Joe had already wrapped up the championship. The fact that Kurt in our first race of the day hadn't won, coming second behind myself, Joe had already won the championship, so where he finished in this race didn't really matter. I mean, obviously he'd want to win, but if he was able to help Kurt out, secure that P2, then that was probably on the cards, and that's why you'll see some tactics being played as Miguel makes the move into Garda. I didn't fight it hard at all at this stage in the race. I was just interested in trying to run the quickest race I possibly could. I knew that we had a bit of a gap to the karts behind, and if Miguel thought he was quicker at this point, then I was quite happy to tuck him behind and see if I could follow him along. The situation between me and Miguel, you can kind of see there, was similar to how Adam seemed to have slightly better pull, as here's the tactics from Joe, letting myself and Miguel through as he was going to try and back himself up, allow Kurt through, and then park the biggest kart bus that you've ever seen to allow Kurt to try and get the position that he needed, which I think was fourth. He needed to finish if Anwar won. But yeah, you can see here Miguel's already put a little bit of a gap on us. And there it is. There's the final part of the tactics coming through. Joe letting brother Kurt through to see if they can secure a Holmes 1-2 in the championship. But we'll move ahead now to the last few laps of the race, because the middle of the race was very much a case of just trying to put in consistent lap times. And Miguel was sort of gapping me a tenth or so a lap, and Kurt and Adam behind were gaining in. So I think pace-wise, we know we're on par with the guys around us, but seeing as I'd had a pretty poor run of form, as Kurt throws it up the inside here, in my mind, I didn't want to fight too hard. I didn't want to risk allowing more karts into the fray, and I just wanted to finish on the best bit of form that I could do to end the year. So Kurt going for the move there, fine. We're still in a podium position for Class 1, even because Miguel is Class 2 in P2 at the moment. We've now got Adam coming inside. Now, I didn't realise Adam was this close, so we go for it, but at this point here, I remember earlier on in the race, I had seen a penalty for number 3, and that was Adam. Now, ideally, I'd have kept him behind me because then that would have guaranteed. But at this point here, I'm still technically in 3rd for Class 1, which would be a nice result to end the year, so long as Adam doesn't get in front of Kurt, because I didn't know exactly how many places he'd been penalised. It might only have been a 1-place deduction, in which case that would be no good for me. But as we come on to the last part of the race now, you can see there, again, just didn't quite have the pace to stay right on the bumpers of Adam and Kurt in front, but the gap behind us is still reasonably healthy as Adam looks to try and throw it down the inside of Kurt, but Kurt is wise to it, keeps it absolutely white line going through Garda. I have a little think about trying to come up the inside of Adam as we go down the bottom of the hill up towards Cafe, but nothing doing, and we'd end up crossing the line, line astern, and that would be the end of the 2024 Club 100 Sprints Heavyweight season. Fist bumps to the guys around. Joe goes past to say well done to Kurt. They bring home the 1 and the 2 plate for next year. There's the token appearance from Adam Pritchard as we give the thumbs up at the end of the race. No opportunity to push him along today, but yeah, that would be it. We'd end up finishing in P6 overall in the championship, jumping Adam Nather, which I haven't commented on so far in this video, but we were, I think, 16 points behind. He had a bit of a rubbish day, so that was enabled us to get P6 in the championship. So we'll keep the P6 for next year, but officially first loser, no trophy for me at the end of the day. But well, at the end of the day, yes, but not at the end of the season, no trophy for us. They only go down to P5, but hey ho, I have to try again next year, and there will indeed be a next year, as we'll be doing the sprints, the SP60 and the SP40 as well, getting even more track time to see if that will help push us forward and finish in the top 5 of C1 for next year. But thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and as always, until next time, have a good one.